Hi, this is Heather from World Class Tutoring, and I had some students try this worksheet and have a few questions about it. So let's work on it together. This is to clear up your questions. And I made this worksheet specifically for the SAT because the SAT loves, loves, loves to trap students by giving them a conversion factor in linear units like miles to yards and asking them to use it in square units from square miles to square yards. And you have to be 100% sure that you know how to avoid getting trapped by these questions. They're not that hard. You just have to know the trick, which is to square the conversion unit. So let me show you. My method when I show my work for these is always to do what I learned in chemistry class, right? In chemistry class, I learned a technique called stoichiometry, which is just how to convert things when they get kind of complicated. And that's how I'm going to show my work. So if it looks a little like chemistry, that's not a coincidence. Stoichiometry is the perfect way to approach these questions. So let's start with number one. The farm has an area of 1.25 square miles, 1.25 miles squared. Be careful, that is not the same as miles. Squared miles and miles are different units, although they are related to each other, of course. I want to convert that to square yards. So I'm going to make my conversion factor. I'm getting rid of miles. So I put miles on the bottom. I want to have my answer in yards. So I'm putting yards on top. I want this conversion factor to be equal to 1. So I need to make sure the numerator and denominator are equal to each other. So 1 mile equals 1760 yards. And then most important, right, the whole point to this is that miles and square miles are not the same. So if I were to multiply right now, I would not be canceling my miles because I would have a square miles and just a regular miles in my conversion factor. I am going to fix that by squaring my conversion factor. Right there is the important thing to remember. If you do that little square, you're squaring the 1760 in effect. And I will get this question right. And it really is not a long question. You just have to know that trick about where to square and what to square. And so it's the factor itself, the 1760, that it gets squared. I'm going to put that in my calculator, 1.25 times 1760 squared. I can see that the square miles and square miles, right, do cancel each other. One squared is still one, so that's still going to cancel. And the answer I'm left with is in square yards. My calculator tells me this is 3,872,000 square yard. That's option D. Last thing I want to mention about questions like this is they do kind of use your intuition against you. You developed over years and years of school working with linear units like miles and yards. You developed a sense of how big or small answers are supposed to be. But when you're working with square units, right, that's like an order of magnitude different from the kind of answers that you get with linear units. So when you looked at these answers, you might have been like, oh, 3 million is way too big. That's definitely not going to be the right answer. Well, in questions like this, that's what you should expect. Something that feels way too big or sometimes way too small. So don't be thrown off when you see numbers like that. All right, let's keep going. Let's look at number two. We have 4 hectares. And hectares are squared all by themselves. It looks like 1 hectare, which that's what we want to get rid of, is equal to square meters. So I don't have to square this conversion factor because hectares is already a square unit. And I can see that because it says right here is equal not to meters, but to square meters. So that's already built into what a hectare is. However, I still have to change those square meters to square yards. And my conversion factor is meters to yards, so I'm going to have to square the second conversion factor. So I'm actually canceling meters, and square meters, and my answer now is going to be in square yards. And let me fill in those answers. 1 meter is 1.094 yards. I can use the linear numbers, right, in my conversion factor as long as I'm squaring on the outside of my conversion factor. So again, let me put that in my calculator. It's going to be 4 times 10,000 times 1.094 squared. It's just that 1.094 that has to be squared. And I do get answer D here, 47,873, and my answer is in square yards. All right, moving on to number 3. We can do this 2 ways. We have a swimming pool with a radius of 12 feet. and I know that the area formula is pi r squared and our radius is 12. I could either convert feet to meters now. If I do that, I just use the regular conversion factor and then I change it to area later. Or make it area first and then when I convert the square feet into square yards, I'm going to have to use the squared version of this conversion factor. Either way will give you exactly the same answer. So let's use method one, but do know that there are two methods, and they're both going to work. Method one is going to be convert first. So what we have here is 12 feet. We're going to change that to meters. So let's get rid of the feet. Let's bring in the meters. We know that 1 foot is 0.3048 meters. I'm not squaring this conversion factor because it's just feet to meters. I don't have square feet yet. And I'm getting 3.6576 meters. Now that I have that radius in meters, that is the radius, let's get the area. The area is pi r squared, and I'm going to use pi times 3.6576 meters squared. And that works out to be about, because of pi is going to be estimated, I'll change to the about, 42.03. And that is square meters because I squared my number with meters, but I didn't have to square the conversion factor because I already took care of that in the first step. So this is going to be answer A. If I use method two again, if I wanted to get the area in square feet and then convert a second, then you can see you do want to use that 0.3048 squared in your conversion factor. All right, two more to go. We have Rachel has 192 cubic feet. So this is different because it's not squared anymore, it's cubed. And she needs to change that to cubic yards. So we're getting rid of the feet. We're bringing in the yards. We have 1 yard to 3 feet. And what's important here is we are not squaring anymore. Now we are cubing because we're working with volume, with cubic units. Other than that, it's still the same thing. It's 192 divided by 27. Is what you're going to do here, and that ends up being 7.1 repeating, and that's in cubic yards. So answer A for number 4. And finally, for number 5, we have a college campus has a lot of square yards, 1,734,656 square yards. We want to change that to square miles. Our conversion factor is yards to miles, so we're going to make sure to square that conversion factor. Let's see, it's 1 mile is equal to 1760 yards. So I'm going to divide this number by 1760 squared. And it's going to get smaller than you think, right? So when I do that division on my calculator, I'm getting 0.56. I canceled the yards. I'm left with miles, but those miles are squared, so my answer is in square miles, which is exactly what I want. That's what's underlined there. So my answer here is A. I hope that helped you out. Get in touch with me if you have any further questions about this worksheet.